Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Wyllie. I'm a senior at Riverside High School, and I'm the president of the high school's Black Student Union. And today, on National Freedom Day, we are called to reflect on the promise of liberty, the idea that every individual in America has the right to live free from oppression, free from injustice, and free from forced labor. Consisting of merely 2 sections in just 43 words, the 13th Amendment was meant to be a historic turning point, abolishing slavery and securing freedom for all. But as we stand here today, I have to ask, how secure is that freedom? How protected is the 13th Amendment in our current political climate? And most importantly, how do we ensure that the future of this amendment truly represents justice for all? The truth is, the 13th Amendment has a loophole, a dangerous, insidious loophole that allows slavery to persist under another name, prison labor. The amendment states that slavery is abolished except as a punishment for a crime. This exception has been used to justify forced, unpaid, and low-paid labor in prisons across the country. As of today, only 8 states have outlawed the penal labor clause. The rest of the country still legally permits incarcerated people to be subjugated to forced labor, often for corporations that reap the benefits. Take Alabama, for example. The Alabama Department of Corrections has a work release program. Alabama has some of the most overcrowded and deadly prison systems in the country. This program allows prisoners with nonviolent misdemeanor convictions to live in special facilities, ones that are much less dangerous than the regular prisons. They can also earn 72-hour passes to visit their families at home. In exchange, they are outsourced to major companies like McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, and Wendy's, where they earn below federal minimum wage. While these individuals are deemed trustworthy enough to leave the jails and work among the general public, the state of Alabama maintains some of the lowest parole grant rates, at around only 10%. This ensures that prison labor stays high and the money keeps flowing in. On top of that, the state takes 40% cut off of every incarcerated worker's pay before the taxes. The prisoners must then pay $5 a day for transportation to and from work, $15 a month for laundry, and any restitution or court fees they may still owe. And God forbid they wake up one morning sick or exhausted. Under the work release program's rules, worker refusing to work can result in punishment ranging from solitary confinement, losing access to phones and tablets, losing family visitation rights, or even being assigned extra labor inside the prisons. This is not freedom. This is modern-day slavery. And the main victims have always been the same group of people. It is no secret that the prison and criminal justice systems disproportionately harm Black Americans. The very foundation of policing in America was built on keeping Black Americans subjugated. Bear with me while I give you all a quick history lesson. After the Civil War, the South was in ruins, marking the start of the aptly named Reconstruction era. During this time, federal troops from the North occupied the South to enforce Reconstruction policies that included the 15th Amendment, granting citizens the right to vote, the 14th Amendment, granting citizenship to those born in America or naturalized, and most importantly, the 13th Amendment, outlawing slavery. But this federal military occupation ended as part of the Compromise of 1877. The 1876 election saw the Southern-supported Democratic candidate, Samuel J. Tilden, win against the Northern-supported Republican candidate, Rutherford B. Hayes. However, the Democratic Party was accused of intimidating Black voters in key states, specifically South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana. After deliberation in an electoral commission, the Southern states agreed to accept Rutherford B. Hayes as the winner in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South. With federal oversight gone, former slave patrols became the first modern police forces, enforcing Black codes, Jim Crow laws that criminalized Black people for simply existing. And when punishments were handed down, they almost always resulted in manual labor, often in the same agricultural fields from which they had just been emancipated. That same system has evolved into today's prison industrial complex, where Black Americans are more likely to be arrested, given longer sentences, and disproportionately represented in our prison populations. The only difference between then and now is that the black and white striped jumpsuit has been replaced by a red polo with those golden arches. And yet, rather than addressing this injustice, our government seems poised to expand it. President Trump has openly advocated for mass incarceration and the use of detention camps for undocumented immigrants. Recently, he has pushed for the reopening of Guantanamo Bay to house the victims of mass deportation. Under the existing legal framework, these camps could operate just like prisons, where detainees are stripped of their rights and forced into labor, all while corporations profit. So when I think about the future of the 13th Amendment, I'm not reassured, I'm not comforted, I'm terrified. I fear that unless we act, the 13th Amendment's promise of freedom will be nothing more than a mirage, an empty declaration of justice while millions remain in chains. But fear is not the end of the story. Fear must drive us into action. We, the youth, the next generation of leaders, must be the ones to demand change. We must demand that our legislators abolish the penal labor clause. We must demand an end to the privatization of prisons that turn human lives into business ventures. We must demand an immigration system that treats people with dignity, not as commodities to be exploited for free labor. The 13th Amendment was meant to end slavery. It is up to us to make sure it actually does. The future of this amendment is not yet written. The pen has not yet been fully lifted. It is in our hands to ensure a future of true freedom for all. Thank you.